Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome back. If you have, my intention is unity and oneness, the highest levels of love light. I am clearly in my car. Welcome to my office. I just want to go into a little flow and kind of see what wants to come through energetically. Happy full moon. Happy lunar eclipse. I think we've got a solar eclipse coming up. We just had the equinox. Lots of big energies. I know sometimes we think, well, am I supposed to be feeling anything different? I don't really feel anything different than what I'm always feeling. It's okay. I feel like so oftentimes there's a lot of pressure sometimes for certain things to feel a certain way. And I just wanted to kind of express to everyone, these times are, from my perspective, more about just kind of being with ourselves and dropping into more of what we want to focus on. Relaxing a little bit more, taking care of our bodies, connecting with the earth. That's what it feels like to me during these cycles. That's just my own perspective. Gives us a bigger chance for introspection, feeling, goal setting, all that good stuff. I could do a little energy update. I just am going to stay in flow a little bit and then maybe do an energy update at the end or throughout. All right, so what I'm being shown right now when I was getting ready to drop in the field are multiple layers of realities. Ooh, it's gonna be a juicy one from my perspective. These multiple layers of reality are something that we are all in the process of working through, working in. We all have a different medium, so to speak. You guys, briefly, if the video moves around a bit, or if I turn on the lights a lot, don't worry about it. Maybe just listen. This isn't necessarily meant to be watched. It's meant to be heard or felt, not necessarily. It's not necessarily a watching video. As we move into these different layers of reality, we merge our consciousness with these layers of reality. From one perspective or from another perspective, we could say that these layers of consciousness are what is creating these layers of reality. And we are continually, consciously or unconsciously, creating reality throughout our day, throughout our life. If we want to break our life down into moments, moment to moment, hour by hour, day by day, week by week, year by year. And it is often easy to forget that our consciousness has mobility. This mobility is something to recognize that we all have access to. So what this means is we have the ability, there was something going on I wanted to be cautious of. We have the ability to access quadrants, if you will, quadrants of our subconscious, our realities, and our substructures within these realities at all times. We have the ability to merge our consciousness at all times from an outside perspective with, okay, let me try to describe what I'm seeing. But before I do that, let me just sing a few things. See if I can put it into words. As we merge with these different fields of consciousness, as we access these different streams, if you will, these streams of energy that are flowing in and around us, we are able to harness the frequency and the energy that is being projected into our reality from me and from you. For we are all part of the projection crew. We are all together creating these different manifolds of reality structure. And I'm hearing subpar. So if you feel that your reality structure is subpar, that the reality that you are looking to co-create is not up to the level that you would like it to be, I'm seeing a video game, you can't quite get to that next level up. We invite you to be present with your breath. We invite you to feel in that moment your ability to access your breath, your ability to access feeling, your ability to access feeling your breath in the moment, your ability to be in the moment and present enough that you can feel what you are experiencing in your body. For stress components, I'm seeing, I'm hearing Rome was not built in a day. And I'm seeing like composite stress fractures. I'm hearing composite stress fractures. But I'm also hearing like when you have a bunch of layers of strata like built on top of each other, and that's how you tell, okay, this was the, before Christ, this was after Christ, this was, all the time strata, how they date history, geological history, per se. For we are all diamonds, if you will, built under a certain amount of stress, made of molecular design in order to merge and move with the stress in order to break through into another element. Do you guys ever see that movie, The Fifth Element? Like I'm seeing like the Fifth Element kind of here. And then I always hear elemental dear Watson, which just tells me to put the pieces together, do a little inner investigation, and wattage always reminds me of Watson. So it's always like my little cue for putting this together. And so let's get back to upper mobility. I'm hearing upper crust. So it's like breaking through like the diamond in the rough is what I'm hearing. So as we polish what is already held within our own diamond, so to speak, we are able to access all facets, many facets. For within the diamond, I'm picturing like that beautiful diamond, like one of the world's biggest diamonds that's in one of the palaces. There's a couple. If you look inside, there are many different structures within, colors, facets, and each of us has many different facets, faces as well. And let's face it, we are being called at this time to resurface, play on words, so double meanings here, resurface that which no longer fits. We are being called to bring ourselves up out of that which no longer fits, and also recognize that that we are seeking is already within. So I'm being shown a lot of people who are covered in carbon or this like dark coal or whatever it might be, the diamond in the rough. I'm having reference to Aladdin. But that diamond that's inside of this black, like polishing it and seeing what's really there. So this is a multi-layered message. Basically, not enough people are really taking the time to hone in on their own skills. They're not taking the time for inner reflection. They're constantly covering up this stuff with sludge, basically, with what I'm hearing are things that aren't theirs. And then what happens is we all go through this from time to time, that we We have access to this. And I'm being shown the diamond inside of a lighthouse, you know, that crystal that a lighthouse projects and the light reflects off of it. If it's not polished, then nobody else can see when they're, you know, it's necessity for the lighthouse keeper to keep that polished. But I'm also seeing that and I'm hearing it's a full-time job, right? Like, otherwise the ships aren't going to see it in storm. And I'm also being shown that's such a good metaphor because the lighthouse keepers there during, you know, oftentimes they're there during the most difficult of times back in the day in order to help their brothers and sisters find their way. Yet you must recognize that within is your own light projector. And if you are never cleaning the lens, and this has to do with rediscovery, this has to do with, what did I say earlier, resurfacing, then the lens does not project at certain angles. The lens only is able to shine at a particular point. And I'm hearing a particular point in time. So this is a reference to back to what they were saying about the layers of reality. A lot of people are really tuned in and projecting their attention and awareness, which my guides talk about all the time. What are we focusing on other people's stuff? Whether that be, how can I serve others, or what's going on with fill in the blanks, whatever it might be. And we think we're doing our best to cleanse our bodies, mind, spirit, whatever it might be. But in actuality, we're in such a pattern or habit of not really going deeper that we're missing the point. And this goes back to point in time. So that goes back to what I was saying earlier, moment to moment. Self-reflection, feeling what we're feeling, asking, is this what I want to take with me into the next moment? And they always say that the breath, you guys, my guides are just our guides, our angels, our higher selves. They're just an aspect of us. They're one of the facets of the diamond that we're all connected to and through. We all have access to our higher regions of space, if we want to call it that. I'm being shown the brain higher up here. And this is so important right now because as things start to become more confusing for some, those who have been allowing their light to stay focused. By the way, I'm being shown that it's not always like perfect. It's not always clean. There's not always, it takes work, right? And it's not going to be the same every day or every minute of every day. But focusing on that and being present with whatever it is that comes up is part of the work. So for those who are able to do that, they will be the light keeper for many. This will happen naturally. I'm being shown we don't have to go out looking for it. The lighthouse, the light keeper is there, and the ships come to it versus it seeking out, you know. But I'm also being shown a picture of someone not doing anything but staying in the lighthouse. For some people, that's okay. For others, they feel the call to get out and take that diamond with them. Is that song Shine Bright Like a Diamond? Something going on with diamond right now, diamond energy. And so what happens is during those times, we can intermingle and interact in a myriad of ways. We can reflect back to others what it is that we wish to see. Whew. So as we compose ourselves, as we allow our composition to reassemble itself, so to speak, as we shift with the changing tides, as we shift from one point in time to another, we find ourselves letting go of old times. We find ourselves no longer needing to coordinate on a map with coordinates that are not coordinated, with false coordinations. I'm seeing like if you were to follow a Google map and I'm seeing if you were to follow a Google map and you put in the coordinates and then you get to go to your location and it's nothing's there. I'm kind of being shown this is like a theme. Like there's been a lot of false coordinates. Like look over here, look over there. This is where you should be putting your energy. This is the truth of reality. And not while some have good intentions, we would invite you to notice that it is important that each of us follows our own path, our own intentions, and recognize what those intentions are. So I think I just did a video called Focused Intent. And what I'm seeing is a theme for that. And kind of, we think we are, I'm hearing it, the structure doesn't need to be as structured as we think it is. So oftentimes we think we have to have goals and we need to accomplish them by this date and they need to look like this. I'm being shown that's the old way. But just by continually throughout the day, reorganizing our quantum structure, reorganizing how it is that we organize by being in flow, by being in a state of heart-held coherence that allows us to move throughout our day with a sense of mobility that allows us to drop into our reality or our structure or merge with our structure in such a way that just by centering ourselves, we're able to focus that intention, which is the center, that attention. And that focus, sorry, hello darkness, my old friend. We're able to focus that energy in such a way that it actually is part of, it's like a merge, it's like instantaneous. It's like we're not necessarily having to look out a year in advance. Now, I'm being shown that it doesn't hurt to have long-term goals. And I'm hearing reachable long-term goals. For if we are not able to visualize those goals or find our heart-centered intent around those goals, they fall by the wayside, or we might be hanging on to goals that are no longer fit with our resurfacing, because that which comes up to the surface that was buried below might cause us to rethink, rewire, rethink about how we're wired, change. I'm hearing like the communication wire, and then I'm hearing trip the wire. Like it might cause us to go, whoa, this is not the path that I want to be on anymore. And this goes back to us feeling that moment to moment. So if we're present, we can have some really massive ahas about where we wish to turn our ship, where we wish to set sail, where we wish to counter the storm. Okay, so this is a play on words too, because you guys, there's a lot circulating right now about everything, you guys. If it's almost, if you're tuning into any form of social media or the news or any form of media in general, it's almost overwhelming. And I've done videos on this before, but I just feel like it's so important. I get lost in the shuffle sometimes too. This is why I'll post things, but I'm not on social media as often as, as I could be. I feel overwhelmed by it at times. It pulls me off track. Although sometimes it can be very uplifting and it can really help me, especially if I do follow a lot of really awesome channels on YouTube and Instagram that every once in a while I'll get something that pops up and I'm like, wow, that just really helped me. So it's being conscious of that as well, because, you know, if it's not helping us and we're not feeling better from it, it may be that now's not the time to listen to it. Or it might be that it's just not something that's in our, it's not feeding us right now. Doesn't mean it won't feed us forever, or it may be that it doesn't feed us anymore at all, and it's time to just try something different. Okay, so I'm back to the mobility structure. So I keep being shown dimensions, and I've always been shown dimensions like nesting dolls. Excuse me, I have to wet my whistle. And these reality structures, or layers within layers, are not separate from one another. They are truly connected. However, they become more apparent or transparent as we morph into the correct coding or codex and adaptability that allows us to adapt to that reality and therefore merge with it. So we become part of the complex. We shift our complex and shift our reality in such a way that the new reality, or if we wish to call it 5D, holds us, supports us, rather than us slipping through the cracks. All right. So I'm being shown that in certain cases, we start to raise our frequency, meaning, what does that mean, really? It means we are doing what was suggested in most of the people out there who talk about these things. Working on myself, helping other people, taking care of our bodies, connecting with the earth, you know the drill. And if you don't, I'll have to find another video maybe and share that with everyone. And the word I'm hearing is consistently. So I think what happens is sometimes we get a glimpse of this higher dimension or higher frequency. And I've been told that what happens is we feel it, we get through that crack, and we're like, oh, I feel good. And life happens, right? Or we get into an old pattern where we have a jarring experience with a family member, or we watch a television show that yanks us out. And what I'm hearing is shackles. We're still shackled to the old. So it's like we grow and we expand and we merge kind of with this new reality, but then we get pulled back down. But what I'm hearing is we're magnetized. So it's almost like we have magnets on the bottom of our feet. And as we're walking, light is a feather, right? If we're lighter in our heart, they talk about the ba and the ka when you go to the other side. In Egyptian times, the weight of your heart is measured with that of a feather. So I'm seeing that we're still attached to the groove that we've been in. And it's almost a subconscious thing. It's like when you first try to diet and you're just in the habit of reaching for those potato chips. And it's not even that you're hungry, you're just used to it, or you're in the habit of drinking coffee like I am, or you're in the habit of whatever it is. It could also be a relationship that doesn't necessarily have your highest interest at heart. It could be that you really don't feel nourished is the right word from it. And by the way, this doesn't mean we're looking for nourishment from somebody else. But isn't it nice to have a companion where you feel like you nourish each other? But also that companion needs to be able to be nourished by themselves too. They can't rely on just us to nourish them. And that's a whole other video. But maybe that's part of the resurfacing, coming to that recognition and saying, you know what, I love you, but we're going to have to work on some things, because I can't be your source of entertainment. I can't be your source of nourishment, or vice versa. I guess you would call that when it's dysfunctional, or perhaps when you, there's a name for it. But this could be with anything. It could be any, fill in the blanks. Where is it that we are either giving too much or taking too much? And so what happens, to go back to the reality, is we get it back, we fall back into these habits, and then we're magnetized, drawn to, electrically bound, and merging with that old reality structure. And it sometimes feels easier, even though it feels simultaneously more frustrating, more difficult. I'm being called to talk about my own experience. I do this also. I oscillate. Oh, goodness gracious. Excuse me. I oscillate in and out of reality structures for the same reasons that everybody else does. I think that's part of the reason I share these videos, because we all do it. And I have my own style or techniques of getting out of that. So for me, my habits tend to be food. And I'll share that briefly, which is a physical, right? It's a physical attribute. I'll tend to eat more sugar and carbs when I feel stressed about something. And how many of us do that? I think a huge majority of us do that. But what happens is, I'm gonna go dark mode just for a second. So what happens is our bodies then are not able to hold as much frequency, right? So then I get tired, which we're already being bombarded, with energies, and we're already being bombarded with all kinds of things. So now I'm tired. I get into a space of just kind of being a little, it causes my cortisol to go up, et cetera, et cetera. And then it becomes a snowball effect, right? It becomes this combination. And then when things come into my life that might be a little stressful, my body already has a high amount of cortisol in it, because I wasn't necessarily handling, whatever it was properly in the first place. Do you get where I'm going with this? I think you do. So just allowing ourselves to stay as balanced as we can on a more regular basis helps us to counter and adapt to all of the stresses that are coming into our lives, whatever those look like. We could flip this around on the other side too and say, all right, I feel stressed because I am, dealing with some health issues, either on myself or a family member. And you guys know I recently went through some things with my own relationship. It could be relationship stress, but let's say you have a loved one in your household who has cancer, or you're a caretaker for someone who has Alzheimer's, whatever it might be. Sometimes we're in it could be that you're a mother or a father that's taking care of 4 kids, right? And that's stressful because your kids are going through something. There's always something. And if we aren't really staying as centered as we can throughout the day, it's easy for that to happen. We're human, but we're also here to have those feelings. We're also here to, from my perspective, experience these things. They're part of the soup. So again, adapting, balance, recognizing that we have the mobility in order to move through reality in a much more dynamic way. And I'm just hearing, move the sludge out of the way. So anything that is really, I'm being called to just take a few moments and even write down 5 things that would be really easy to clear out of our lives that are creating part of our disorganization. And it could be, you might be surprised at what comes through, is what I'm hearing. If you just set your intention, sit down and focus for 5 minutes, maybe use one of those little, put your timer on, and write down 5 things in your life right now as of this week, even today, that maybe you are in the habit of doing that you could shift slightly? I'm going to give my, for instance, it could be something simple like tonight I'm going to drink a calm tea before I go to bed, rather than just going straight to bed. I'm going to do a little red light therapy or sauna. I'm going to get 5 minutes of sunshine today, and maybe it turns into 10 or 15. Why am I getting a little extra sunshine today? Well, I've been in the house a lot. It's been cold. I need vitamin D. Whatever it is, I'm going to invest in myself, and, I'm going to take a hot shower and a nap today. I'm going to, it's just stupid things that we don't think about. And we all of a sudden get wrapped up into our lives. And then we get wiped out by whatever it is, solar activity, full moon energy, whatever it might be. Okay. So I started doing some tea for blood sugar. I just felt like I'd been, so you could get your blood sugar tested, see if you're at a high level or a low level. I started doing banana tea for the tryptophan before bed, potassium. So whatever it is, I'm just adding these little hacks, right, to make it so I can move and not be completely stuck with magnet boots on, holding me to a structure that isn't supporting me anymore. All right, so I'm just going to see what else wants to come through, and then I'm going to end on that note. But I'm not giving up coffee yet. I'm not quite there. Maybe I'll go to non-chlorinated, non-bleached decaf, half decaf, half regular, whatever it might be. So as we sift through and allow ourselves to feel into the remnants that are potentially still blocking our focus, blocking our ability to feel into our intention. For we all have intentions, whether they be because of habits or because they are clear intentions of a brand new start. As we sift through the remnants of our messy lives from one perspective, we may find chunks of gold are actually still there for us to acknowledge, things we may have forgotten about. And we stop being a receptacle for other people's doubts, shame, blame, excuses, discontent, and we become receptors for the higher frequencies that give us the access to be able to see more clearly and give us the ability to smooth out the sail in the sea of adaptability. I'm hearing shapeshifter. So shapeshifter is a card that we could, if you do ever do cards, it's the ability to merge as not be in resistance to change, and the ability to see things for what they are and adapt with them. Okay. I think this is important for a number of reasons. And what's coming up is there may be some things that come up in the next, maybe there will most likely be things that come up in the next 6 months for people that they don't want to see. That's going to be the case for all of us, I think. There's always something that shows up where we go, ooh, that's not what I want in my reality. And so it's good in that moment to set our focus, set our sail, set our course for what we would like to see in our own reality first, before we project out what we want to see out in the old template. But also, as we do that, we may start to come into a little bit more of acceptance of some of those things that are being reflected back to us as remnants of the past, of remnants of things that we were potentially part of co-creating that are showing up now that must play out first. And again, so that we stop falling through the cracks. So this goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's almost like we'll stop making the same patterns that we were creating before, because now we're able to see loudly with a vivaciousness, is what I'm hearing, of what we really don't want. And haven't we been really for the last few years? I know I have, and I continue to. But one of the things that my guides are saying is important is recognizing that you're not the only one that's part of this collective conscious creation. However, we make up a group of collective conscious beings, and realistically, we still have our own bubble of reality. So it's kind of like, you ever meet someone that just nothing seems to affect them? They have abundance and they're always healthy and they're actually really happy and they have a beautiful family, maybe few and far in between, but they're out there. And you're just like, how? And we're bothered by what we're seeing on the news. We're bothered by all the suffering. We're bothered by all of this. And I'm not saying that that's wrong to feel uh, empathy. That's part of the beauty of being human. But on the flip side, if that's our magnet that's keeping us falling through the cracks because we keep feeling nothing but sadness for everyone else who is suffering, that's not how, that is how our reality is created. And it creates actually more of that. We see more of that show up so that we can create more empathy, because that's sometimes what we feel like we need to do. When in reality, we can feel that empathy. We can help our fellow humans. Where do we have the power to do that? In our moment to moment, day by day interactions. For some of us who are maybe influencers of some sort, that means high in the political realm, or maybe have a lot of employees, or maybe you're part of a big group of employees. Maybe you have 50 people, 100 people, thousands of people in your office that you can interact with and be jovial and lighthearted. You know, these are important tasks as a lighthouse keeper. Notice I'm not using the term light worker anymore. I still like that term because we are working with the light, but we're also working with the dark. I mean, we need all mediums in order to see what we don't want. And there's those darkest moments of our life sometimes. Think about all of the near-death experiencers. That was a dark moment in their life that showed them the light, if you want to call it that, or showed them the dark, showed them, here's really dark. And when I say showed them the light, it shined a light on whatever was needed to be seen. And they come out of it a completely changed person most of the time. And that's what I'm seeing is happening to us in a small scale, sometimes really big scale, but moment to moment, day out, day through day by day. So I hope this was helpful for someone, and I'll be doing more of these later. Happy full moon, and all that good stuff. In love and light, guys. Namaste.